All right, so we are done with the Columbus investigation, and I know it was a few days of research and writing and pretty heavy-duty stuff. Today's a geography day, and it's located on Unit 3. So if you click on Unit 3 and you scroll down to Unit 3, we have day 83, and you can see a link that says Map of the World. That's simply a blank map of the world. Now, if you are absent, if you can click on that and print it off or do it in a digital form, that's great. And you're going to click on the assignment, and the assignment reads European Exploration Assignment. And it comes on up, and you will see there are 4 parts of the world: England, Spain, Portugal, and France. So what I'm going to ask you to do is take that blank map and designate a color for each one. So England can be red, Spain can be yellow, Portugal green, France blue, pick any colors you want. And what you're going to do is color in the nation where they speak those languages: English, Spanish, Portuguese, and French. And I have clumped them together by region, so you're not, jumping all over the map, jumping all over your atlas. And here's the English-speaking nations in Europe, Africa, Americas and the Caribbean, Asia, Australia, the Pacific. Here's the Spanish-speaking nations by region: Europe, Africa, Americas and the Caribbean. Portuguese-speaking nations, and I just clumped them all together because there's not that many. And then the French-speaking nations. And it's a geography drill. I do want you to put your nose in your atlas. I do want you to have an awareness of where places are in the world. There's nothing wrong with that. But it has a point to this question: what factors do you think allowed Europe to spread their language and culture to so much of the world? I'm going to end with that after I show you a couple pictures. And here are the pictures I'm going to show you. Language as an indicator, I missed an and there, of cultural diffusion and hegemony, or the most egg-headed title you'll probably get in high school. So, do you remember these 2 words, cultural diffusion and hegemony? Now, cultural diffusion means when people mix with one another, they blend, whether it be ideas, food, disease, new ways of doing things, all sorts of ways you can mix. Cultural diffusion, hegemony. Hegemony means dominance and power. And I use these 2 words because I think they're the 2 most important words to illustrate the point here. And it started on October 12th, 1492, the day Columbus arrived on North American soil. And you can see this painting, picture says 1,000 words. Here are the indigenous people in the woods. This one seems to be bowing. We see weapons, guns, steel, crosses. Columbus is looking pretty good for himself, pretty fit. And this is where it began. When Columbus arrived, it's a global world. Now, when Columbus arrived, the other Europeans got into the mix. And this went on, you can make an argument, from Columbus all the way to World War I. That's a long time for European nations to explore. And it ended with this: English. Now, English comes from the British Isles here. Now, the island, here's England, here's Wales, here's Scotland, here's Ireland, here's Northern Ireland. And look, I put my cursor on it, and it takes up most of it. It's not a huge place geographically, but in 2018, you can see it has spread throughout the world. That shows they have traveled. There was an expression, the sun never set on the British Empire. This map gives evidence to that point. Spanish, again, Spain's not a huge nation. Here's Spain and Western Europe. And if I look at the Americas, from Mexico all the way down to Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador, Peru, Chile, Belize, Honduras, Nicaragua, Panama, lots of Spanish-speaking nations. Portuguese. The main big one here is Brazil. Again, Portugal, small Western European nation, and it's spoken throughout the world. And French. This map is even in French. France, here it is, a little Western European nation, and look at the spread, in particular on the continent of Africa and in Southeast Asia and in Canada, well, Quebec mainly, and they do speak it as Canada has 2 languages. So these 4 languages, after the European exploration, really left a legacy, and you can see it shows cultural diffusion, the mixing, but it also shows hegemony, where they had significant control over these areas to the point where people would abandon their home tongue and use a foreign tongue. And this unit is even called the emergence of the first global age from the 15th to the 18th centuries. So when the Europeans got into the mix, when Columbus arrived, we see the rise of gunpowder empires. Empires with guns win. It's that simple. Europe in transition. Europe is transitioning from a very backwater, not a world power kind of place into a very dominant place, and the global economy which stemmed from that. So let's go back to this question here that I left you a couple minutes ago. What factors do you think allowed Europe to spread their language to much of the world? Well, if I'm answering that, if you were absent, here's how I would answer. Question number 1. Guns, germs, and steel. Not steel. Guns, germs, and steel. Now, when the Europeans arrived, they had guns. The indigenous people did not. It's one of those very simple things. If you have a gun and somebody else doesn't, you're running the show. You're the HMIC or the HWIC. You are in charge of things. Germs. Now, along the Silk Road, Trans-Saharan trade route, the mixing that went on in Afro-Eurasia, major diseases went through and obliterated huge fractions of the population. First and foremost, the bubonic plague, taking out a third of Europe. Now, to the 2/3 who survived, their immune systems were very strong in comparison to others. So when they arrived into what they called the New World, which was North American world zone, these people who were isolated for a long time did not have the immunity that the Europeans and Africans had when they arrived. And steel. If you have steel, you can make a lot of things that people who are using stone do not. The Mayans were a Stone Age culture. They did not have steel. And again, think about it. If I had you make your stuff that you need every day, you can either make it out of stone or steel. You're going to use steel. Now, number 2, I'm going to say competition and greed. And it's human nature. So once Spain started making money off this transatlantic trade, other European nations wanted to get into it. And it's human nature to want more and beat the other person. That was going on. And Europeans were scrambling to get the better technology, navigation technology, the better boat, the better weaponry, better systems of getting commodities back and forth. They were competing. And a lot of it was predicated on greed. And greed can be straight up money. But here's the thing. If you were tasting coffee for the first time, that's what happened because of this trade. You get that first cup of coffee you ever had, you're going to want more of that coffee. How about sugar? You get that first taste of sugar, you're going to want to get more. So people wanted to get more. Now, the third reason Europeans were able to do what they did is, like I just mentioned a moment ago, technology. The improvements in all those areas of technology to better themselves, to improve their economic situation, and that kind of thing. Now, another area, and I'm going to argue the last area, is government. And what do I mean by that? When the Europeans made colonists out of the people they conquered, that's called imperialism, when a big, strong nation shows up to a smaller nation and takes them over, they incorporated their system of government. And part of that is you have to speak the language. Even you take an American school. If you are a student from another country, you are put in another classroom where you are taught to learn. You're taught English, and you're taught to assimilate, and you are taught English class. You are taught government class. You need to take these to graduate high school. America, we came from England. We were an English colony, and they set forth their governmental rules that we followed, and their education systems that were in English, and they brought their English speakers over, and that's what did it. So this is a story that started with Columbus, but went on arguably till World War I. So if you are absent, I'm looking for a nice map with 4 pretty colors, a little geography drill, but hopefully you get that point. So thank you for watching.